Hello everybody and welcome to the first ever episode on this channel of Pokemon GO PvP guides, and for our inaugural video I figure I would do none other than my favorite Pokemon of all time, Snorlax. Now in these videos we're going to be doing basic overviews of the Pokemon, talking about its typing, its weaknesses, its stats, and its max CP, and then we're going to look at all the moves this Pokemon can learn, and we're going to pick out which moveset we think is the best for PvP, and then lastly we're going to look at Pokemon to watch out for, as well as favorable matchups for this Pokemon according to the current meta in the Go Battle League. So if that's content you enjoy, please like and subscribe because I'm going to enjoy making these videos, and everything I just talked about is going to be in timestamps in the description if you want to skip around. So feel free to do so if you want to do that. So without further ado, Snorlax. My favorite Pokemon of all time, like I said, for a number of reasons. I've always liked his design and his concept, He's just a boy who wants to eat and sleep all the time, which I feel on so many levels. A lot of times I refer to him as the original thick boy. And, it's so true because he's just, like I said, a big, thick, meaty boy. But anyway, that's not the only reason he's my favorite. He's very good in battling in the main games, and that in Pokemon Go, it's no exception. And we're going to get into all the reasons why Snorlax should be on your team. So, the basic overview of the Pokemon, normal typing, which is honestly pretty good. We only have one weakness and one resistance, so not too bad. The only thing we have to watch out for are fighting-type Pokemon, which, is not so great. That's not a great weakness to have right now because there is a lot of fighting running around in the Go Battle League. I think largely due to Snorlax because he is a very popular Pokemon, but, that's not the only reason it's there. Fighting combats a lot of meta-prevalent Pokemon like the Steel types, the Rock types, the Dark types, which are running around, but, not too bad. When we only have one thing to watch out for, that's very good. And we have one good resistance as well, which is Ghost, and that's also prevalent in the meta, so, it's a pretty even trade-off with Snorlax. Now, let's get into his stats and his max CP. I just wanted to mention one more thing. Due to him having only one weakness, I think that makes Snorlax a very good lead in a lot of teams, because if you leave with Snorlax, you only have one thing to watch out for, so unless it's a fighting type, you can leave him in and really take some hits and get your opponent to use their shield. But we'll get into that strategy a little more as we talk about the moves. Let's scroll on down here and look at his base stats. Alright, attack 190, which is honestly really good, He hits hard, and Snorlax, is not just bulky, as he has a reputation for being, but he has a really, solid attack stat as well, so he can get you he can really chip away at your enemy's HP. Defense is 169, which is, pretty average. It's not great, but look at that stamina. 330. Our boy is taking so many hits. He is so thick with 5 Cs. Like, he is just really going to be taking a lot of hits for you, which is largely why we want to use this Pokemon. And like I said, we'll get into that strategy more when we talk about the moves here in a minute. But, yeah, stats are awesome across the board. And then we look at max CP. At level 40, Snorlax caps out at 3225, which is honestly, really good. Anytime a Pokemon that's not a pseudo-legendary or a legendary Pokemon, anytime their CP exceeds 3,000, I think that's really good. It makes them very strong, and, it's kind of just really valuable to use in the Master League, particularly because, the higher the CP in the Master League, the better. That's the point. But, yeah, so Snorlax, very solid, but, he's not limited to just the Master League. Snorlax has a good presence in the Ultra League as well, and I have Snorlax for both of those leagues. Great League's a little different just because since anytime a Pokemon has a higher CP, they're not going to get as much usability in those lower leagues just because since their CP caps out at such a high level, stats might not agree. It's a really complicated mathematical formula, which I'm a little confused by myself, but, just a lot of times when you have a Pokemon with a higher max CP, they're going to be best used in the Master League. But, you can make it work if you find something with good PvP IVs for those leagues. So, keep an eye out for that. But Snorlax, I think, definitely shines best in the Ultra League and the Master League. So, without further ado, let's get into the moves this boy can learn. So, for quick moves, Snorlax can learn Lick, Zen Headbutt, and Yawn. Now, Yawn is definitely not the one we want to go with because, it doesn't do any damage. And if we're going to use this Pokemon for battling, obviously we want to use damage. And not only that, Yawn is an elite TM, so you definitely don't want to burn an elite TM to have Snorlax learn Yawn. So, out of the picture there. Now, the other two moves that Snorlax can learn is Lick and Zen Headbutt. Now, on just about every competitive Snorlax I've seen for Pokemon Go, Lick is the way to go. And this is for a number of reasons. One, because Ghost and Psychic are both pretty prevalent in the meta, and Snorlax being able to use that move makes him very valuable since he's a normal type Pokemon, especially. And like I said, we have that resistance to Ghost, so him being normal just makes him a really good matchup against a lot of the Ghost type threats that are out there, because not only is he not taking much damage from them, but he's also dishing out a lot because Ghost is super effective to Ghost. So, and we have 5 damage on Lick, but 12 energy per second, which is awesome. And if you don't know what energy per second is, it means it's like the rate at how fast your charge move charges up because of your fast move. And we have more energy per second for Lick than we do with the other option, which is Zen Headbutt. I mean, Zen Headbutt's not a bad option simply because it's a Psychic type move, and Psychic is super effective against fighting, which is Snorlax's only weakness. So if you wanted to run that, you could, but I mean, I think you're going to get a lot more mileage out of Snorlax if you run Lick instead of Zen Headbutt. Yeah, it's just the way to go right now. So I think Lick is definitely what we want to go with, like I said, for the quick move. Now let's get into the charge moves. And this is really where Snorlax shines, I think. One of the things that people kind of sleep on with Snorlax is he has a very deep, diverse move pool. Like, look at all these moves he can learn right here. Now, and another cool thing is that every coverage move that Snorlax can learn, like Earthquake, Heavy Slam, Outrage, and Superpower, every one of those is effective against the current meta in one way or another. So you can really have Snorlax fill a hole on your team that you're missing. And it just makes him, like I said, very valuable. Now let's take a look at all the moves he can learn individually. He can learn Hyper Beam, Earthquake, Heavy Slam, Outrage, Skull Bash, Body Slam, and Superpower. Return is interesting, but take a look at this. It takes 47.1 energy per second, which, I mean, if you can hit a Pokemon, though, they're going down, but, you know, I guess might not be the most ideal. But for the charge move, I think Body Slam is pretty much a necessity on this Pokemon for a couple reasons. Now, let's talk about the strategy with Snorlax that I think is the best one and that I've gotten the most results out of, and I've seen a lot of people do as well. One, like I said, is to use him as your lead Pokemon, since you only, for one, you only have one weakness to watch out for, which is fighting types. But not only that, since Snorlax is so buff and can take a lot of hits for you, even a lot of charge moves, you're not going to have to use your shield at first, while you're also putting pressure on your opponent to use his, because if you know Body Slam, then it's a relatively fast charging move, so you're really putting your opponent in a tough position early on, because they either have to take a lot of good constant damage from Snorlax, or they have to throw up their shield. So it's kind of a win-win situation for you, and that's one reason I think it makes Snorlax a very viable Pokemon for a lead. And the reason I say Body Slam over these other normal type moves is because I think it's just our best constant damage and fastest charge move that we have that is also Stab. And if you don't know what Stab is, it's right down here at the bottom. It means same type attack bonus, and you deal 20% more damage. So basically, anytime a Pokemon uses a move that is the same typing as them, they get that attack bonus, which is, obviously what we always want. Now, so Body Slam definitely for one of our charge moves. For the second move, I mean, you could go with dual stab moves if you want, like Hyper Beam and Skull Bash, but they do take a little bit to charge. However, they do hit extremely hard, and with a Pokemon like Snorlax, you could maybe get away with those moves that take a little longer to charge just because he is so bulky, but you definitely have to know how to play that matchup. It might take some switch-ins and all that kind of stuff. And I personally think that since we have access to so many good coverage moves, you want to go with a coverage move over dual normal type moves, but it's up to you. However, we're going to go over all the reasons why I think these coverage moves are a better option right now. So, Earthquake. I ran this on my Snorlax in the Master League. I think, it was last season, and I got so much good results with it because, for instance, a very popular lead in the Master League is Metagross, and Metagross is a great matchup for us because not only Snorlax knows Lick, which is super effective against Metagross's Psychic, but he also is a Steel-type Pokemon, and Ground is super effective to Steel. So if your opponent doesn't switch out that Metagross, you are either going to kill him with that Earthquake or he's going to have to use a shield. Like I've said before, it's a win-win situation for you. Close that here. I don't care if my disc is almost full. We'll be okay, right? So yeah, Earthquake definitely a good option for you. So, and like I said, I gotten a lot of good results and a lot of mileage out of it. Heavy Slam is interesting. It's a steel type move, and the reason that might be good is because there's a lot of fairy types running around in the meta, mainly Togekiss, but there's a couple other ones, like Clefable and Granbull, and you could just have that steel move to counter those fairy types. However, I think this is the least desirable of all the coverage moves that Snorlax has, simply because, I think something like a Metagross or another Steel-type Pokemon just suits better to deal with fairy types, and you could use this to fill another hole on your team, but, it is there if you want it. And then we have Outrage. Now, this Outrage is really interesting because anyone who plays in the Master League knows that there's a lot of Dragon types. They're just running rampant in the Master League, and a lot of the top meta mons are Dragon types. And Snorlax is cool because, a lot of times you might have to have a Dragon type combat a Dragon type, which is good and bad because Dragon is super effective against Dragon, so while you might be dishing out good damage, you're also taking a lot of damage on your Dragon type Pokemon. Well, Snorlax doesn't have that drawback. He can be super effective against the Dragons while not taking super effective damage. And I actually switched this move out for Earthquake toward the end of last season in the Master League, and I didn't really get a chance to use it to see the results of it, but, I've heard this, you can get a lot of mileage out of Snorlax with this move as a good counter to Dragon types. So it's definitely, that and Earthquake, I think, are the best options for coverage moves, personally. Now we get down here to Superpower. Superpower is good simply because sometimes you'll get in mirror matches with another Snorlax. And if you know a Superpower, you're at an advantage because, Snorlax is super affected by fighting type moves. So it gives you an option to use to combat other Snorlaxes. Which is really good because if you have a Snorlax and you're facing another Snorlax, it's really kind of an annoying matchup because most likely you're both going to know Lick, and Ghost doesn't really do anything to normal typing, and you're just sitting there battling for a while. So if you have a Superpower, you can end that fight really quick, but also be mindful that if you come across another person's Snorlax, they might have Superpower, so you might want to throw up a shield if you find yourself in that situation. But yeah, that's pretty much for Snorlax and his movesets. I think the most optimal one for him is Lick, Body Slam, and then move of choice. Whatever you want to go with, whatever you need to fit on your team. Like I said, I think the best ones right now are Earthquake and Outrage, but you could definitely go with Heavy Slam and Superpower as well. So, with that being said, let's move on into Pokemon to watch out for. You see here, I've compiled a list of all of our biggest threats who are also the most popular in the Go Battle League right now. So, by and large, the biggest threat that Snorlax has is Machamp. Machamp is probably the best and most popular fighting type in the game right now, and he is going to be the bane of your existence if you plan on using Snorlax. So, if you can get your boy out of there, even if you know Zen Headbutt, you're probably going to lose to Machamp. Just as even less of an incentive for you to use that move. But yeah, it's just not a good matchup for you. Get your boy out of there if you can, if you come across a Machamp. Another one who has risen in popularity a lot is Conkeldurr. I've personally never really come across him, but according to the statistics, he is very popular in the meta right now, so keep an eye out for him. He's a fighting type boy, and he's going to hurt Snorlax. And by the way, I'm getting these statistics from PokeBattler, which is a very good resource if you want to look into team building. And there's also another good one, which is PvPoke, I think it's called. Really good for team building, and if you want to get more into the Go Battle League. Now, another one who is not good for Snorlax, it's not a favorable matchup, is Obstagoon. And this is for a few reasons. So, excuse me. Obstagoon is a normal Dark-type Pokemon. Well, and since we're running Lick on Snorlax, that's a Ghost move. And Normal and Dark, I believe, are both resistant to Ghost, so Snorlax is doing absolutely nothing to Obstagoon, unless you happen to know Superpower, because Normal and Dark are also both super affected by fighting moves, so unless you know Superpower, it's not a good matchup for you, and even if you do, Obstagoon can learn fighting type moves, which are going to be hitting faster than your superpower. It's not ideal most of the time, so just be mindful of that. Then there's Hariyama and Scrafty, who, I mean, kind of same deal. Heracross as well, and Escavalier, they can all learn fighting moves. You know, Snorlax doesn't like that very much. Poliwrath is interesting. He's a very good and popular Pokemon in the Ultra League, so if you're running a Snorlax in that league, be mindful of him because he's popular and he's a water fighting type Pokemon, so not good for your boy. Lucario, same deal, steel fighting type, you know, that's what Snorlax doesn't like. And then I put Snorlax on this list because, like I said, in those mirror matches, if there's a chance that other Pokemon could know superpower, and so, you know, don't just think you don't have to throw up a shield. Kind of test the waters a little bit. You know, it might be a good option to burn a shield on another Snorlax, because if he hits you with a superpower, your opponent is at a good advantage. I put Mewtwo on this list. While Mewtwo is a favorable matchup for us a lot of times, he can know Focus Blast, and there's a lot of Mewtwo's who have that in their moveset. So, you know, don't just switch into one willy-nilly thinking, oh, I know Lick, Ghost is going to beat his Psychic, it's going to be no problem. Yeah, and then he hits you with a Focus Blast and you're one-shotted. Melmetal is on this list as well because he can learn Superpower, so be mindful of that. And then there's Registeel. Oh my god, I hate Registeel. He's so annoying. He's a very bulky, annoying boy, and he can learn fighting moves. You know, just be mindful before, if you find yourself in that matchup. And then lastly, I put Darkrai and Gengar on this list because I believe they can both learn Focus Blast. Yeah, they both learn that move. It's a coverage move that they have, so it's just good to know that, you know, what Pokemon can learn fighting moves that aren't fighting type Pokemon. You know, that it's good to be mindful of that. Oh, another one, I didn't put him on this list, but this happened to me the other day. Ampharos, who is a mono electric type Pokemon, I think. He can learn Focus Blast or some type of fighting move. You know, I was fighting him. The opponent led with Ampharos, I led with my Snorlax, and I didn't throw up my shield because I was like, it's an Ampharos, you know, he doesn't know any fighting moves, and then my Snorlax got one shot and I was out of there. You know, so it's kind of an example of how effective it is to know what Pokemon can know fighting moves. Just be mindful if you find yourself coming across an Ampharos, he can hurt you. Don't learn the hard way like I had to. But enough of Pokemon to watch out for. Let's take a look at Pokemon that Snorlax does well against, or favorable matchups. I think the biggest one that Snorlax can do well against is Metagross, for two reasons, like I mentioned before. Snorlax can learn the move Lick, which is super effective against Metagross's Psychic typing, and he can also learn Earthquake. So if you have a Snorlax with Lick and Earthquake, you're the ultimate Metagross killer, and Metagross is one of the most popular Pokemon in the Master League, and also in the Master League's Premier Cup. Then there is Giratina. He's super effective against Giratina for a few reasons. Lick is going to be super effective to Giratina's Ghost typing, since Ghost is super effective against Ghost, and if your Snorlax knows Outrage, bye-bye Giratina. And that's not just true for Giratina. Any Dragon-type Pokemon, if your Snorlax knows Outrage, he's going to be a good matchup for. So Dialga, Palkia, Dragonite, Garchomp, Reshiram, some that aren't even on this list, Kyurem, Zekrom. If it's a Dragon-type and your Snorlax knows Outrage, switch into it. Or, you know, if it leads with it, it's a great option because the cool thing about Snorlax, too, is, like I said, a lot of people don't expect him to know these moves, and even if they do know that he can learn those moves, you'll most likely get your opponent to burn a shield, or, you know, you'll most likely one-shot those pesky Dragon types. So I think Outrage on Snorlax is going to get a lot of mileage. So, yeah, definitely a good move to use. I kind of went in depth on Mewtwo already. He's a Psychic-type Pokemon, so Snorlax knowing Lick is going to be good against him most of the time, but like I said, be mindful that he can know Focus Blast, so that's good to know. Then we have Lugia, who is apparently popular. I haven't seen him too much myself, but he's a Psychic Flying type. Snorlax's Lick Ghost move is good against him. And then we have Cresselia, who is more popular in the Ultra League, so if you plan on running your Snorlax in that league, Snorlax is going to be a good matchup for this guy because he's very popular, due to Giratina also being popular in the Ultra League. And then we also have Gardevoir. Gardevoir is a Psychic Fairy type Pokemon, so, you know, if your Snorlax knows Heavy Slam, it's a good matchup for it. But not only that, you know, it knows Lick, which is super effective against its Psychic typing. And then we have Rhyperior, Tyranitar, and Mamoswine. and I think, let me double check. I know if you know Superpower, Tyranitar and Rhyperior are going bye-bye because they're super affected by fighting moves. Let me just take a look here to give you all the weaknesses. So Rhyperior is a rock and ground type, so if your Snorlax knows Superpower or Earthquake, or Heavy Slam for that matter, it's going to be super effective against Rhyperior. Now for Tyranitar, like I mentioned, if you know Superpower, it's going to be super effective. And yeah, if you know Earthquake and Heavy Slam as well, Tyranitar is super affected by that. And then we got Mamoswine, who is a ground ice type Pokemon. And he is super affected by steel and fighting moves. So again, Superpower, Heavy Slam, super effective against Mamoswine. So he's a safe switch into all these top tier threats, which is awesome. And then there's Heatran, who is a fire and steel type Pokemon. And he is super affected by Superpower, and he is quad affected by an Earthquake. So again, Earthquake is a great move to use, and so is Superpower. It's not just for those mirror matchups, it's for all these other threats who are very popular in the meta. I put Togekiss on this list because he's a fairy type, and if your Snorlax knows Heavy Slam, it's a steel move, it's super effective against all fairy types. So, all the meta-prevalent ones anyway, so Togekiss, Granbull, Clefable, Heavy Slam's gonna get the job done. But like I said, I probably wouldn't use that one. I would just have a Metagross on my team or a Melmetal or something to take care of the fairies. Excuse me. But other than that, we have Mew, who I haven't seen much, but apparently he's popular. Again, Lick takes care of him. I don't know if Mew can learn fighting moves, but I wouldn't be surprised since he can learn so many different TMs, so maybe watch out for that, but, you know, generally a safe switch in. And I put Gengar on this list since Gengar is Ghost. Snorlax can know the move Lick. Ghost on Ghost. Snorlax usually wins that battle because Gengar is very, very frail. However, like I said, be mindful that Focus Blast can hurt you and Gengar can learn it. And then lastly, I put Muck on this list because Muck, the Kanto and the Alolan version are very popular in the Ultra League, and if Snorlax learns Earthquake, Ground is super effective to Poison. So yeah, that's pretty much it for Snorlax. We're going to wrap it up on the first video. You know, the title of this video says Snorlax should be on your team for a number of reasons. You know, he does so good against these meta Pokemon. He's very bulky, he can shield bait your opponent, and he has a good max CP, good typing. I think Snorlax is just all around a very good Pokemon to use. So, please comment, you know, let me know what you think of these videos, let me know what you think of Snorlax, and let me know if there's any requests you want me to do for these videos in the future, because I definitely plan on making more. Alright, thank you guys, I appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next video.